Hi folks, Jenny here, also known as New Uke, New York on some parts of social media, and I am here with another one-take tutorial. This is my monthly, when I'm having a good month, most months, monthly series for ukulele players, songs that I have arranged, tutorials on different topics. I'm sharing these publicly, but I do want to give a shout out to my Patreon patrons who support me each month and help me have time to make videos like this, and an invitation to you to come over to Patreon if you would like to join us there for 1 month or more. There's lots of bonus content on Patreon. In this series, I kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I'm teaching techniques, sometimes I'm teaching songs, but this month, May 2025, I'm making a video on a song in honor of a sort of moment in music history. Whether or not you feel like it'll go down in music history forever or not is a fair thing to debate, but right now, a moment in current music history is that yesterday it was announced that the artist Taylor Swift had regained control of her back catalog that she lost for a while. It was bought by someone else when she wished to purchase it, and now she has been able to purchase that back, and she released a statement yesterday saying that she now owns all of her music, which, as a person who is an amateur songwriter, I think is really great. I would love for songwriters to not feel like they have to sell their music in order to make more money, but also to be able to retain ownership when they wish to. If songwriters want to sell their songs to other people, that's fine too. But I'm just happy for her that she got her music back. So in honor of that, I thought I will teach a tutorial on a Taylor Swift song. And because we are in the back end of the 100 Days of Ukulele 2025 project, if you don't know what that is, then ask questions in the comments and I will point you to the FAQ document that will tell you all about it. But for I think roughly day 25 or so, I recorded a Taylor Swift song that a private student of mine requested called I Bet You Think About Me. And it was one that I didn't know previously, but it was a request by the student, and so I looked it up and learned it and made a arrangement of it for that student, and I thought it might be a fun one to teach and to share, because I think it's a little bit friendlier to beginners than some of the tutorials that I do. So I'm always trying to find ways for beginners to approach things, even if they are a little more advanced in chords, but this song has a little bit more beginner 1, beginner 2 chord difficulty, and a fairly simple strum the way that I played it, although I'll give you some other options too. So today I'm going to be teaching in my one-take tutorial, I Bet You Think About Me by Taylor Swift and Lori McKenna. This is one of the co-written songs that Taylor did. I believe this one was around 2011. It'll say on the song sheet when I pull it up in a second. And I think even Chris Stapleton sang backups on the original recording. And then on the newer recording, when that album was reissued as Taylor's version in 2021, it was actually released from the vault and published at that time. So some interesting history with this song. These tutorials are live stream one-take tutorials, so you won't see a lot of fancy editing, but I will put chords up on the screen. They're not always going to be on the screen though, so you may want to grab a copy of the chords and the arrangement for free on my Patreon. It'll be in a public post. There'll be a link to it in the description box of this YouTube video, and that way you can grab that and have it on your end, so that when I don't have it up on the screen, you can still refer to it or even print it out if you want. Also, I will put timestamps in the description box here, because I am chatty and I do jump around, and you may not need to hear every bit of information that I share in this video, so you can skip around and look at the parts that interest you most. Like if you already know what all these chords are, you can skip that section. So we're going to start out the way we normally do by looking at the arrangement itself, and I will share it on the screen so that you can see it here if you don't already have it on your end. And while you're watching this, feel free to leave me comments or questions in the comments of this video or on the Patreon post, and if it's something that was unclear, I'll address it, or if it's a request for a future tutorial like this, that's great too. Let me know what your favorite Taylor Swift song is, and if I haven't already covered it or made a tutorial of it, then maybe I'll do that. But this song is going to be one that I think is fairly good for people of all levels to approach. So you can see already the chords down the side are mostly within that beginner 1 family of chords that we learn. but let's just talk about them real quickly. I won't teach you how to play every single chord because there's lots of videos that do that, but if you need that, for future tutorials, let me know if that would be helpful. We've got some very standard early beginner chords here. That one finger C, the one finger A minor, and the two finger F are some of the first chords people learn. That's with good reason, because those are very, very popular chords in the keys that ukulele players like to play. Also, there's a three-finger G here, which is one of the first three-finger chords most people learn. There's a couple of them. There's also a G7. Many people learn G pretty early on, though. And additionally, you've got an easy chord and a slightly more difficult, but not very difficult chord to add to your chord knowledge if you don't already know these two chords. So the C major 7, and I'll just take the share off the screen to show this. The C major 7 is right next door to the C, and it's also just a one finger chord. So like if you're playing your C with one finger on the 3rd fret of your A string, the C major 7 is one finger on the 2nd fret of your A string. It's got a nice kind of jazzy, hangs in the air kind of song. I'm a big Rebecca Sugar fan, Steven Universe, and that's a chord I hear from Rebecca Sugar a lot, especially ending songs. It's a lovely chord. So you're going to have the C major 7 that's happening in this song along with the C. And then the other chord was a G suspended 4. So if you make a G shape with 3 fingers, 2nd fret C string, 3rd fret E string, 2nd fret A string, and then you add your pinky finger, which should be free, to the A string 3rd fret right behind your ring finger. If you're playing your G like I play it, then you're playing a G suspended 4. You've just raised that note on your A string from this 2nd fret to the 3rd fret. And then if you were to release that, you'd be back at your G. A lot of songs go back and forth between a suspended chord and an unsuspended version of that same chord. But even if they don't, I think it's often easiest to just play the shape you're familiar with if it's something like this G. Not all suspended chords work this way, but if you can play that shape and just add a finger, not only is it a little simpler to get your mind around, but also sometimes it's a good pinky workout because we don't always use our pinky finger. You can play it other ways. You could flip your middle finger and your ring finger's position over here so that middle's on the 3rd fret of the E and the ring is on the 3rd fret of the C. That is a G suspended chord as well. So if that's an easier, both brain sort of movement and also finger movement to do, then feel free to do it that way. So the chords, not very many of them, pretty simple. The way that the song works, let's look at how the song is arranged. Taylor Swift does not have, all of her songs are not the same, but this is a pretty common form with her. We've kind of got a verse section, then we've got just a little instrumental transition, then another verse section. So you could call that verse 1 and 2. And then we've got a tiny little transition and what is sort of like a refrain. It's going to change the lyrics though. So it's not like a chorus like that repeats and is very straightforward every single time exactly the same. But the chords are going to change here, and we can think of this as a refrain section because it's going to end with that I bet you think about me line, which is the title line and also kind of the hook of the song. So I'm going to think of that as a chorus or refrain, even though it's not traditionally what some people think of with like the lyrics ever the same every single time. Then there is another instrumental transition, which is the same as the one before before the second verse, and you do a 3rd verse. Then another little instrumental transition and a 4th verse. You could also think of these as verse 1 is 2 stanzas and verse 2 is 2 stanzas down here. I don't know how Taylor actually thought of it when she was writing it, but either way you think about it, you've kind of got a verse section and a refrain section, a verse section, and then on the next page another refrain section, again with different lyrics but ending with I bet you think about me. And then there's some more I bet you think about me. We're extending the refrain here. And then we've got a section that it's sort of like another refrain, but I would call it more of a bridge. Taylor Swift is famous for her bridges. I don't know what she would label these sections as, but this "oh, block it all out," it starts off the same way the refrain does, but it's not the same melody. So I'm going to call this the bridge, and there's another one down here. So we're actually going to do bridge, verse section, and then another bridge. And then we do some more extended refrain, and then we do sort of even more refrain for an outro. The end of the song, again, is a little bit different. So this song actually has quite a few more sections than some songs do. It's not just going verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, end. And the lyrics are changing all the time. Taylor loves lyrics, which I do as well, so I get that. But they're not going to be the same. So it's great that the chords are simple. It's great that this song has a simple rhythm as well to kind of help us as we have to learn these different sections and keep all the lyrics straight. So let's talk about the timing for a second, and then we'll look at how the chords move through the song. The timing of this song is not your standard 1, 2, 3, 4, what some people will call 4/4 time signature. It's okay if you don't know what all these words mean, but basically a lot of songs have a 4 beat, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Other songs it sounds more like 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, but it works a lot the same way because 2 is divisible by 4, or 4 is divisible by 2. Oh my gosh, good thing this isn't a math tutorial. But this song actually has more of what you might call a waltz time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So the strums that we learn for all these other 4-beat songs that we, may know really well, like if you know island strum, like if you know a rock strum, like if you know down, down, up, down, up, down, up, those kinds of strums, they're not going to work for this song. Same thing with picking. If you have a favorite 4-beat picking pattern like Travis style picking for ukulele, it's not going to work with this song because those are all based around 4 beats. So we'll talk more about the strumming in a little bit, and I'll even give you some picking options as well for those of you who want to pick it, which my student wanted to try this with picking options as well. But I played it, if you listen to my cover, I played it with strumming. So let's look at how the chords move through these different sections of the song. So let's look at a verse section first. We'll look at this very top one. So it kind of starts off with words before music, and it's often called a pickup if you have words coming in before beat 1 of the song. Beat 1 of the song comes in where that C chord is written on M of 3 a.m. So 3A, you could play a chord underneath that, but I like to kind of come in on bare air, 3 a.m., and then you come in with the strum on M. So there's a little pickup there. If you're uncomfortable with the pickup, you could start strumming the C and just use that to come in, 3 a.m. Now, let's not worry too much about the rhythm right now. Let's just look at how the chords move. So from the C, actually, let me take this off the screen now. So if you want to have it on your end, that's a good idea. And I will look at it on my end and show you how these chords move. And we can talk about if we need to strategize any fingerings. You could play this opening C with any finger, but I'm going to play it with my ring finger for the following reason, because of what comes next. Sometimes it's good to strategize how you're going to play a chord by what comes before it and or after it. This is the first chord. I'm going to start on my ring finger C, then I'm going to go to my middle finger C major 7, and then I have my index finger free to reach over for the A minor. And that's a nice little change. Ring, middle, index. And then I can take that index and move it into place for the G and add my pinky for the sus4. So I'm coming all the way from a 1-finger chord to what I play as a 4-finger chord. That may take some practice. You can drill that chord change if you need to. You can think about what finger does it help to put down first. For me, I'm putting down my middle finger on the A string, but my index is following really quickly behind it. And I'm using that middle finger to plant and hold everything in place while I place my other fingers. Then from that G suspended 4, you're going to go to an F, and I'm going to move my index finger into place again on the E string, 1st fret, and then bring my middle finger down, F. You're going to stay on that F and go back to the G suspended 4. So that's a big leap. I'm leading with my middle finger there, and then to the G, which just requires lifting that pinky. So that whole first line, sorry, I'll start with my ring finger. C major 7, A minor, G sus4, and then F, another F, G sus4, and lift the pinky. And actually, that's how you play the second half of that verse section. You do that thing again. So it's just that one pattern twice. I'm looking at the second verse section, it's the same. I'm looking at the third verse section, it's the same. I'm looking at the 4th verse section. Yeah, it's the same again. I'm just looking to see if I'm missing anything. And then there's a verse section on that second page. Yeah, it's the same. So each of the verse sections is that pattern twice. C, C major 7, A minor, G sus4. F, F, G sus4, G. All right. So the next section I will look at with you is the, because the interlude is basically that section, that chord exchange again. We're going to skip that for now and go down to the, what I'm calling the refrain. So you're coming in off of a G at this point, and you're going to an F. This is a switch you'll make in a lot of songs, so it's a good one to practice if it's not comfortable. But again, I lead with my index finger and then get my middle finger into place. And where you're going to play the F for 2 counts of 4, and then we're going to go to a C. Now we're coming right back to the F, I noticed. So I would probably put my pinky out here and play that C, but keep my fingers close for the F. I'm just going to lift them a little so I can go right back to that by lifting my pinky and putting these 2 fingers back down. So you can practice going back and forth between your F and your C, because we're going to do that several times. In this refrain, we're going to go F, F, C, C, back to F, 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 C, C. Now A minor, our middle finger's free, put it back down, A minor, another A minor, and then all the way to G sus4. Again, I'm going to lead with my middle finger, plant my G, put my pinky there, sus, sus, regular, and then we're going to end up on a C. And you could end up on your pinky, or you could set yourself up for the next verse by ending with your ring finger, C. Like, there's nothing wrong with playing with a pinky there either. If you find yourself doing that, you can adjust what finger. You can either play the C major 7 with your ring finger, or you can play it with your middle finger as we did before. You know, there's not just one right way to do this. All right, so that is the refrain. And is the refrain the same on Mr. Superior Thinking? F, F, C, C, A minor, A minor, A minor, A minor. Yes, yes, yes. Yep, same refrain on the top of the second page. All right, so now we have the bridge section to look at. So there's 2 of these, and I'm just going to look first since they're the same in both one. Oh, there's only one of them. I see. We're going from. Okay, I made a mistake when I told you about the way that the song works before. Let me put it back on the screen. I just missed this, and I did prepare for this lesson in case it seems like I didn't. Now that we're done and it's over is that refrain we just looked at, and then this is the bridge we're about to look at. Oh, block it all out. I said that happened twice, but actually we go back to now that it's done and it's over. So we actually do get that refrain again. And it is the same lyrics even. So she does do there's 3 refrains, and they have 2 different kinds of verses. You've kind of got refrain A, refrain B on the second page, and then you do refrain A again on now that it's done and it's over. So there's just one bridge. All right. Sorry about that. So now let's look at how the chords move on that bridge. So you're coming in from a G again to an F, which is the same thing we did on the refrain. And we're going back to the C. So that is also the way the refrain started, but it's not going to stay the same. So you'll go from the G to the F, another F, C, C. Now this is nice. If you're playing that C with your pinky, then you can just form your G around it and have a G sus4. Just leave that pinky planted and then lift it for the next G. So that would go F, F, pinky C, C, make your G, but leave this pinky down, then G, lift the pinky, and then A minor is your next chord. And you could play the A minor with whichever finger feels best, index or middle, but you're coming right back to the G sus4. So think about that. I might play with my middle finger and then come back to my G sus with my middle finger leading the way. And then you're going to go from there to F, or at the end of the third line, F. And then we do that. Do we do this exact same thing again? No, not quite. Close, though. We go from that F to C, C, G sus4, but we stay in the G sus4 for one more, and then G is a love that you had, and on F. So it does. It's not the same thing twice like it is in the other stanzas. We actually, the second half of the bridge is different from the first half of the bridge. And then the final section of the song that's a little bit different, well, there's actually two, aren't there? So there's these extended refrains, the I bet you think about me, yes, I bet, those sections. So there you're doing something very similar to what we've already done. You do a G, I bet you, another G, think about me, and now think about your walk down from the C to the C major 7 to the A minor, like we did at the beginning of the song, and then back to G sus4, F. So it's built off of sections we've already done. And then the very end is similar to that. So you're coming from this F, and then back to I bet you, regular G, C, walk down again, C major 7, A minor, back to G sus4. This is going to repeat several times. So you do that 1, 2, 3 times, but the last one is different. So the last one, the oh my god, she's insane part, you'll start off on I bet you think. I bet you think about me. Walk down when you say, oh my god, back to sus, she's insane. Here comes the F, she wrote a song about me. Back to G sus4. I bet you think about, and on the C, me. Kind of a cool construction here, and again, like I said, all of Taylor Swift's songs are not constructed the same, but I like the structure of this one. All right, so, and the next thing I think we should probably do is single strum a little bit, because there's several different ways that you could play this. You've got a lot of room to play around with the rhythms and how you want to play each song, and I'm not a big believer in needing to play like a certain strumming pattern all the way through the song, never deviate from it. So I want to give you a structure that you can deviate around as much as you're comfortable with, but you can play it, you know, one way all the way through if that's helpful to you. So whatever level you're at, you can kind of pick and choose. If you're single strumming this song, then you're gonna do one strum every time the chord changes, or if there's two of the same chord written out in a row, I would recommend strumming both times, but you could technically only do the first one if you want to leave some air hanging, you know, some space in your song. You could leave that second one out, but you would still need to count 4 beats for those. Oh, sorry, 3 beats at the three beat song, Jenny. So you'll have these measures that you're playing through with single strums if you like, and you can play the whole song on single strums, and that would be just fine. And let's see, to get the most possible amount of the different sections of the songs, let's look at the second page. Let me put it back on the screen, and we'll do a single strum through the second page. This way you'll get kind of all the different sections, and we won't need to spend the time to go through the whole thing, but you can come back to this and practice later if that's helpful to you. We'll also do it a little slower than I would perform it, but if this is not slow enough for you, you can use the YouTube gear icon on the screen to slow me down further, or you could also speed me up if this is too slow for you. It's better to be comfortable with it slow before you speed it up. Even if it sounds way too slow to you and you'd never want to sing it that slow or play it that slow, it's still good to make sure you can make all the chord changes at that tempo before you start speeding it up. So let's think about Mr. Superior Thinking. That's what we're going to come in on, and I'm going to do just a single strum for each of these chord changes. And actually, I'm sounding a little bit like I'm going out of tune, so let's do a quick tuning break. Let this be your reminder, if you haven't tuned yet today, to check the tuning on your ukulele every time you sit down. And I did tune it right before I went live, but it is slipping a little bit. It's actually getting sharp on a couple of strings. Okay, that's closer. All right, so let's start at the top of the second page and just go all the way through the page and do single strums the whole way. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Superior Thinking, do you have all the space that you need? I told you this would be slow. I don't have to be your shrink to know that you'll never be happy, and I bet you think about me. That C comes just a little late. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, G sus 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I bet you think about me. Yes, I bet you think about me. Oh, block it all out. The voices so loud saying, why did you let her F go? Does it make you feel sad that the love that you're looking for, G, is the love that you had? Let's actually skip down because this is slow and I don't want you to feel like there's no time for me to teach you anything else. Let's skip down to the very end because we've done now all the sections. We've done a verse, we've done the bridge, we've done a refrain. We did a refrain first and then, oh, actually, we haven't done the verse yet. So let's do Now That You're Out in the World, and then let's skip down to, well, I'm having second thoughts. I guess we do need to do all these sections. I recognize some people may want to skip this part because it's just going too slow for you, but again, you can always speed it up. Let's continue with the second half of this page. Sorry, I changed my mind. We're live, folks. Like I said, I'm not a video editor. I'm not going to cut that out later. So let's go from had, 2, 3, 1. Now you're out in the world, 2, 3. Searching for your soul, scared not to be hip, scared to get old, chasing make-believe status. Last time you felt free was when none of that shit mattered, 'cause you were with me. But now that we're done and it's over, 2, 3, I bet it's hard to believe that it turned out I'm harder to forget than I was to leave. And yeah, I bet you think about me. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I bet you'll think about me. 2, 3, yes. I bet you think about me. I bet you think about me when you're out at your cool indie music concerts every week. I bet you think about me in your house with your organic shoes and your $1,000,000 couch. 2, 3. I bet you think about me when you say, oh my God, she's insane, she wrote a song about me. 3. I bet you think about me. So are you hearing that I'm singing me a little bit before I strum, which is not what it looks like on the page? That's just a vocal choice. You could come right down right on it. I bet you think about me, and do it at the same time. But I'm just letting the strum come in slightly after a lot of these places because it's sort of what I heard Taylor doing and it feels stylistically appropriate to me. Same thing with up here when we did, I bet you think, I bet you think about me. I'm coming in a little late on the strum there on those me's as well. But you could do, bet you think about me. You could do it right on the beat. That's just a vocal choice. And you know, you may not even think about stuff like that when you are playing. If you know the song really well, you might just automatically sing it like you hear it in your head. It's not a bad thing to do when you come up with a chord sheet someone else made to make slightly different choices about exactly where you're going to strum that chord. All right, so those are all the sections of the chord. That took a little longer than I was planning for it to take because we did go slow, but I think it's okay. I want to also look at the strumming option for this that I use when I played this song. It's pretty simple. It's not tricky to do. And let me take it off the screen for a second. Because this is a 1, 2, 3 song, and because I wanted a lot of like motion and movement, I didn't want to do something super spare if I wasn't going to choose to do single strums. So while there are some places in this song I use the single strum, or I stop strumming and sort of let the air, you know, fill in the space, I like to do this down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. So that's one pattern is down, down, up, down, up, or 1, 2, and 3 and, if you're counting it. 1, 2, and 3 and. And the way I've written out the chord sheet, you would do one pattern per chord that I've written in almost every case. There's some places, again, where there's some single strums or some longer hang time, but usually it's going to go, and let's just do the C to C major 7 to A minor walk down for you to show you how it works. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and. You want to add the G sus4 at the end of that and complete the line. 1, 2, 3, C, C major 7, A minor, G sus4. So that's how it works. Down, down, up, down, up. Now when you're playing down, down, up, down, up, if sometimes you don't put the up on the end, that's okay. You could do down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down. And you can do one sometimes and one other times. And like I like to do, you can sometimes throw in single strums. So a good example of that, to show you sort of how stylistically I like to play this one, when you get to the refrain, that last line, so you're doing harder to forget than I was to leave, and I bet you think about me, and then I come back in on the C, and again it's a slightly after the word me that I choose to do it, but you see this little exclamation point on I bet, that's a hit. That's what I use to indicate a hit, and so it is, as I've written here, a single strum but stop the sound sharply. This is a little different from you may be learning, or you may have already learned how to chuck, which is a percussive strum that's done all with your strumming hand. This is actually done with your left hand or your fretting hand. If you're a left-handed player, it'd be the other. But it's sort of like you stop the sound sharply after strumming. So you don't just want that percussive hit. You want a quick ring through and then a clamp off of the sound. And I have a whole video on right and left-handed muting techniques if you want to learn more about this. And yes, also some people ask me, can't I just do it with my strumming hand? You can, and in some cases, like most of the time in this song, you'd be able to recover quickly enough to start your strum again. So you can choose to do that if you want, to do your hit by clamping off the sound with your strumming hand palm. But it's going to be more versatile for you eventually to also be able to do just put down whatever fingers you aren't using to close off that sound. So like when I play it with a G, I've got my pinky free, and then I can close off the sound with my pinky. But you do want just a little ring there. So in this song, I sometimes use a more typical single strum that rings out, and sometimes I use the hit. A good example of that is that the next, or not the next, but another I Bet You Think About Me, I use a full strum. It's just based on what I was hearing in the original and how I wanted to do it for myself. But you could make other choices. You could never do a hit. You could do them all as single strums. You could do them all as hits. The other place that I do some single strumming is as I'm slowing down for the ending. Oh my God, she's insane. She wrote a song about me. I throw in some single strums there. And I do single strums on another place I saw as we were strumming through. Where was it? This was a C major 7 section. Or maybe not. Maybe I was just thinking of these last couple of lines. Yeah, so I switched to single strums at the very end. I guess I was making that up in my head. Oh, Love That You Had. That's another single strum moment, because that's a big transition, and she kind of changes tone here in the song. So you're out in the world, scared. It's a good moment to kind of like, you could even slow it down slightly there. So the difference between the down strum, single strum, and the hit is something you can play around with, and when do you want one and when do you want the other can be a fun element to add to the song when you feel like you're ready for it. But other than that, I pretty much did down, down, up, or down, down, the whole song. Now, I did want to mention the picking options for you in case you want to try picking on this song. I won't go over them at length because it's not something I did in my cover, but because I shared them with my student, I'll share them with you. One of them was to do a 1, 2, 3 rhythm using multiple fingers. So G, E and A with your thumb, middle, and ring, and then index finger on the C string. You pluck the three together, G, E, and A together, kind of like pinching toward the center, and then you pick up the C with your index pad, and you do that in a 1, 2, 3 pattern. So you start and end the same, which means that when you go to the next pattern, when you're playing this several times in a row, it'll sound like you've doubled it at the end because you're going right back to the beginning again. Does that make sense? You're doing a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And just quickly, I'll demonstrate what that would sound like at the beginning of the first verse. 3 a.m. and I'm still awake. I bet you're just fine. Fast asleep in your city. That's better than mine. All right, another picking pattern that you could do is 1, your G string with your thumb. I'm numbering the fingers, not the strings. 1 with your G string, and then E and A together with 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'll do the second half of the first verse with this. And the girl in your bed has a fine pedigree, and I bet your friends tell you she's better than me. All right. And then the other picking pattern I gave my student, which is a variation on that, is to do the first time you play it, the same thing we just did, G, E, A, E, A, and the second time to do C, E, A, E, A. So this way you're playing all 4 strings over the course of 2 chords. This works especially nicely, I think, in the refrain, because several times we have the same chord happening for 2 patterns anyway. So you could do it this way. But now that we're done and it's over, I bet you couldn't believe when you realized I'm harder to forget than I was to leave. And I bet you think about me, etc. So there's some picking options for you if you're interested, and I'll write them out in the description box on the video as well, if you want to play around with those. But let's play through the song now. This tutorial got a little longer than I expected because of all that single strumming, but I think it's fine, especially if you weren't familiar with the song. That gets you a little more into the rhythm and the groove. And you can always also go back to my cover and hear how I played it. Let me know if I missed anything you wanted me to tell you about, and I can always answer questions in the comments. But what I usually do for these videos is to play through it once with the chords on the screen, for those of you who don't have it on your end. And then I play through it once with the chords not on the screen, so that, and a little faster, so that if you want to see my hands working up close, you can see it that way. So let's put it on the screen first. All right, so I'm going to play through this, and I'm going to do the down, down, up all the way through. And otherwise, I'm going to pretty much play it as written. Sometimes I simplify it for the first run through, but I think this song is already, you know, pretty approachable. It doesn't have a lot of intermediate elements to it. So we'll do it a little under tempo, but not as slow as we did the single strum page 2. Let's try 1, 2, 3, 1. 3 a.m. and I'm still awake. I bet you're just fine, fast asleep in your city. That's better than mine. And the girl in your bed has a fine pedigree, and I bet your friends tell you she's better than me. Huh. Well, I tried to fit in with your upper crust little back and forth here again, G sus G. Don't you know what they say? You can't help who you fall for. And you and I fell like an early spring snow. But reality crept in. You said we're too different. You left in my dreams, rolled your eyes at my jokes. We'll go back and forth one more time, and then we change the page. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Superior Thinking, do you have all the space that you need? I don't have to be your shrink to know that you'll never be happy. And I bet you think about me. Here comes the extension. I bet you think about me. Yes, I bet you think about me. There's a bridge going to an F. Oh, block it all out. The voice is so loud saying, why did you let her go? Does it make you feel sad that the love that you're looking for is the love that you had? You can slow the tempo a little bit here. Give yourself a little space. Now you're out in the world, searching for your soul, scared not to be hip, scared to get old, chasing make-believe status. Last time you felt free was when none of that shit mattered, 'cause you were with me. But now that we're done and it's over, I bet it's hard to believe that it turned out I'm harder to forget than I was to leave. And yeah, I bet you think about me. I bet you think about me. Yes, I bet you think about me. I bet you think about me when you're out at your cool indie music concerts every week. I bet you think about me in your house with your organic shoes and your $1,000,000 couch. I bet you think about me when you say, oh my God, she's insane. She wrote a song about me. I bet you think about me. All right. I could play through it again, but I don't think there'd be much of a difference with the way I just played it, except it'd be a little faster. Because I'm not adding on a bunch of intermediate elements, maybe one run through is good enough for this song, and you can, again, always go back and look at my cover as well. But the one thing I did notice is down here on the kind of close to the outro, that sort of refrain extension I've been calling it, you can, as I've written here, you can fill in with a hit after, or you can fill in after the hit with a scratch strum. That's what it's supposed to say, scratch strum. In fact, I will fix it on the document and then re-upload it to Patreon so that you can see it. I'm making myself a note right now. Because I got, yes, with a scratch. I already fixed it, actually. I don't know why it shows up like that. I must have just had to not save my PDF again. Anyway, this is neither here nor there. What that means is, after that hit, I bet you think about, you can come back in with what I call a scratch strum. I didn't make that up, but It means that after doing the hit and I've got my sound kind of clamped off, I'm only holding loosely. So if I were to strum, it would just make a scratching sound. It wouldn't make sound. Or make sound. It wouldn't make music. No melody notes there. If you press too hard, you're going to get things ringing through. So it's important to stay light. But you can do hit. You can just keep doing your strum if you want to fill that in. So that would sound like this. I bet you think about me, yes. And then you go back into the chords again. So that's just a kind of option. Let me do that one more time now that I've figured out a better way to demonstrate it. So you're coming in from F, F. I bet you think about me. Yes, I bet, etc. That's the whole song, folks. Like I said, there's not a lot of bells and whistles to this one. I think it's pretty straightforward, and it's nice to play around with where you want to strum and when you want single strums and when you want to do more strumming, or if you want to try some of those finger picking patterns. But in general, I like how approachable this one is for beginners as well as more advanced players who want to try to do fancier things with it. So have fun with it. Let me know if you're playing this one. Let me know if you want me to add it to my Play Along Jam songbook so that everybody can try it together with me at my 4 free monthly jams. I have both a beginner friendly play along jam that I do on YouTube and a mixed level friendly jam for everybody on Zoom, and my patrons can join me on Zoom for all of them. But if you want this to go into one or both songbooks, let me know and I will think about adding it. And again, let me know what you're working on, what you'd like to learn, what you'd want a tutorial on in the future. And happy May to you if you're watching this on the last day of May, and I will see you on the internet whenever you're watching this. Bye, folks.